Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
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 Are you
Oh,
expecting a lot of people today? Or you
I
don't know, right?
I don't
You
know.
have to.
It's kind of one of those I post on all these different forums. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
However, this is going to be recorded and then
Oh,
uh
nice.
yeah, yeah. So
How many Thursdays, Dr. B, are you doing this?
eight
This series, is it
sessions.
just,
It's going to be
oh,
eight
eight? Okay.
sessions, and it's going to be
Note of
a
that.
varying different topics that I feel like would be helpful to a budding holistic nurse. Welcome, Heidi. Welcome to the Natural Nurse series. And I'm actually going to start the the workshop now, and I'm going to start the recording. So everything previous to this will not be recorded. Okay, so we're going to talk about gaining clarity and confidence in your dream practice. So I want to welcome all of you, the people that are present here, and also the people that will be watching this after the recording. We're going to do a lot of things today. I'm going to talk about the common journey that I see with a lot of nurses that are moving from bedside into holistic nursing or into becoming their own entrepreneur, own boss. Because it's a unique journey. It's a challenging journey. It's a journey that I've taken myself, and I'm only a couple of steps ahead of you. And I also have to say that it's almost like a spiritual journey because it requires us to kind of take away the noise of our environment, of our workplace, and really focus in on ourselves, on what we want for ourselves, for our families. And also, it hones us into the kind of healer that we want to express in the world. And it's a challenging journey because I believe that as nurses, we have this desire to really help and heal people, but it's filtered often through the lens of a job, a career, and it often doesn't allow us that creative expression and also the flexibility in being ourselves. It's interesting. I was preparing for this workshop yesterday and I had 2 hours and I was like, I'm going to do this power hour. And I met a man and he just started talking to me at this coffee shop. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking to myself, okay, I have only an hour, but he's talking to me. Do I tell him to stop or what do I do in this case? But I also made a promise to myself that I was going to choose life to be my teacher and that the distractions that I perceive in my life may actually be what I need to be hearing. And so as he was talking, I checked in with myself and allowed myself to just be present to the moment. And he shared some of the most potent and deep and profound things. And I want to share that with you. The first thing that he shared that blew my mind was that he said, you have to follow your dreams because your dreams are how God shows you who you are. In essence, we might not know who we are if, and we might not have the opportunity to discover who we are if we don't follow our dreams. And so that's important for us as holistic nurses because our dreams, our desires, the things that light us up, they're ultimately going to show us how powerful we can be. Right? And so we have to say, well, I'm not saying we have to, but we are invited to say yes to that journey. And in my saying yes, about 15 years ago, I have to say that it was one of the most fulfilling journeys that I've ever been part of. I've also met the coolest people. And I've also been able to create a life that is abundant and really, I feel, allows me to be the most fully expressed healer that I can be. Okay. And then the next thing he shared, gosh, it was just so special, this conversation, was that we're often asked to figure out who we want to be, right? Like, what do you want to do? And he said, that's actually the wrong question, right? Because if we're following our dreams, then we discover who we are, right? We discover who we are and who we get to be, right? He said the question that would really help guide us more is really, how do you want to live, right? What do we want our lives to look like? And in doing that kind of reflection, we'll have a better idea of really truly like what uh maybe what our business is going to look like, right? And taking the moment to reflect on those two things, that kind of reshapes our understanding of our career, our goals, right? So I'm sharing these things that I learned from him yesterday. And I hope that that was helpful for you, because I know after speaking to him, I was like, wow, you've really helped to change my perspective. And I hope that I can dutifully do that to these nurses as well. Okay. So our agenda really is helping you to gain more clarity, uh, helping you to understand where you might be in your journey. Is it can sometimes be a hard journey. It can be confusing. And it can also be kind of isolating, because other people may, especially in your work environment, they just might be focused on, okay, I'm just going to be a nurse in the floor and that's it. Right. Yet inside of you, there might be this desire to do something more, something different. Right. And that structure that you're working in might be a little too tight for you. Okay. And hopefully at the end of this, you'll be able to write down 1 to 3 actionable steps that are going to help you build your dream practice and to work with your dream clients. And then afterwards, we can do a Q&A. So just a little bit about myself. I came to I came to the healthcare field as a nurse, and I really thought I was going to be a modern version of Florence Nightingale. I really wanted to spend time with my patients, to hold their hands at some of the most difficult times of their lives. And when I got onto the floor, I had a little bit of a different experience. I actually probably was in a lot of shock now that I think about it. In essence, I was burnt out already as a student, right? But also I just felt like it wasn't the right place for me. However, I just kept going, right? They tell you to put your time in, and putting my time in meant that I would do uh, I was in the PICU and I was doing overnight. And so eventually I got sick. And in getting sick, I met my first naturopathic doctor, and I studied under him. And it was really then I started to discover what naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, and a whole other world besides nursing. Eventually, I was talking to the naturopathic doctor, and I said, I don't know what to do. Like I studied to become a nurse. I've been a nurse now, and it just feels off. It feels wrong, right? We don't have the words for it sometimes, but it doesn't feel right for me. And I'll never forget what he said, because he said, Vanessa, you're gonna have to follow your heart. And that could be a scary thing to hear from someone, right? Because you're like, what does that mean? And you start going into your head. Ultimately, I made the decision to go to naturopathic school and to become a naturopathic doctor. And I built a private practice after that, became a national speaker. And this organization, Nurses for Natural Health, was essentially born out of the confusion and the feelings of being lost. I want to cut that learning curve for all nurses. I want them to be able to explore natural medicine and to also it's not a naturopathic thing, it is a healer thing, right? All these holistic medicines are really meant for all of us to share. And so for nurses and for natural health, our mission is really to empower nurses in natural medicine, to encourage them to build their dream practice and to empower them to use it for themselves as well. Okay. So I'm going to invite you, if you have a pen and paper, to just take a moment and ask yourselves, how do you want to live? The 10 most important things for yourself, material, non-material, and the 10 most important things that how you want to impact others. And so I'm going to give you about, say, 2 minutes to reflect on this. And again, how do you want to live? 10 most important things that are material and non-material for yourself. And the 10 most important things when you want to make an impact for others. I've got another about 30 seconds. Okay. And of those things that you wrote down, I'm going to invite you to put them in a place that you can see, that you can refer back to. Because one of the most important things and I was never taught this, I was only taught this later. When you're building your business, when you're building your holistic practice, you want to build your business around the life you want to live. And we're often taught to do it backwards, right? Essentially, you take on a job and you build your life around the job. Right? So if it ends up you're going to have a 9 to 5, then you're going to fit your exercise, your vacations around the 9 to 5, and also your family time around the 9 to 5. Yet these are the most precious things that we often sacrifice. And so we're kind of doing it the other way around, which is, how do you want to live? Right? And then build your business around that. So different approach. Okay. All right. So keep those two lists next to you where you can see them and refer to them. Now, I want to talk about the 5 stages of change. And really, this is more helping to guide you in understanding where you are as, as a budding holistic nurse and someone who is starting a practice. And the 5 stages of change, they're not respective to being a holistic nurse. They're really helping to lay out your journey. Okay? And when you move, say, from being a conventional nurse to a holistic nurse with a holistic practice, there are so many steps in between. And so helping you to understand that there is a little bit of a road, a trajectory that you're moving through can cut away a little bit of the confusion. Okay, so I'm going to help kind of paint that picture for you. The first stage is pre-contemplation. This is essentially, we don't know that we may not be the fullest expression of a healer as a nurse in conventional healthcare. We are noticing that there are some dissonances with our life and the life that we want to have, but we don't know that yet. And then there's contemplation, where we're becoming clearer of it, preparation, action, and then maintenance. And we can vacillate between these different stages of change. So for me, because I've been on this road now for 15 years, I'm really more into the action and maintenance phase. Like I know where I need to act, and then I'm maintaining those habits, rituals that will help me to stay in this trajectory. Okay. But let's talk about it a little bit more specifically in terms of maybe helping you to understand where you might be in these stages of change. The first is pre-contemplation. This is where I actually engage and meet with a lot of nurses, because this pre-contemplation there's a lot of discomfort, pain, and there may even be burnout. Discomfort in the sense of, I don't feel right where I'm at. I don't feel the most fully expressed. I don't like where I work. There's even kind of that anticipatory anxiety when you're coming from a long break from work and then you're coming back in. Right? There's also that cognitive dissonance where you know you do things to keep yourself healthy, but they're not actively being used in your practice. Like, for example, you might be doing yoga, and someone, maybe a patient of yours, has sciatica, and all they're doing is taking pain medications. And that's the only thing that's really being provided and given to them. And so it almost feels like, should I say something? Can I share yoga with them? It's that dissonance of like, this is what's helped me, and yet it's not something that I can actively practice clinically. So that's that dissonance, right? And also, like, you just might feel the discomfort, the burnout, but you just don't know where to go. It's almost like you're spinning your wheels, and there isn't a lot of clarity. All you know is just there's a little bit of this feeling of dread, and there's this uncertainty, but you know you just can't keep going like this. Does anybody resonate with that? If you resonate, just hit the chat. So there's that pre-contemplation phase, and then there's the contemplation phase where your clarity is building. And there's a lot more reflection and introspection. It's kind of like, ooh, this doesn't feel good and something needs to change. Okay? And you kind of chewed on the gristle a little bit more. Uh, you're a little bit more aware of what might not be in alignment. You might be aware of what you want to change and fix. It could be that you want to have more free time with your family. You want to have more vacations. And some of the things that could also help you to get more clarity are these two questions. What would you like more of? And what would you like less of? Right? That kind of cuts down on some of the justifications that we have in our head. Right? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? And there's also that question of like, what do I like doing? Right? What could I spend a lot of my energy on that doesn't feel like work? Okay. So that's that clarity phase. And once you have a little bit more clarity on your situation, then you can start to move into preparation. And preparation is essentially kind of finding your craft, finding your ideal client. And we're going to go through some exercises later on to kind of do this. There's experimentation. And also in the preparation phase, there's a little bit more hope. There's a little bit more buoyancy in how you're feeling because you may have, you may be closer to your answer. Okay. And most of the time, in the preparation phase, usually people don't have a lot of confidence. There's, and how could people, right? How could you? You've never done this before. This is something new that you're trying. But this is also the phase where a lot of people begin to develop courage. Like, I can do this. If they can do this, I can do this too. Right. There's a little bit also of naivety. I've got this. Right. And so that preparation phase is important because it's helping us to really kind of hone in. And then eventually you move into the action phase, which is actually quite fast and easy. In the action phase, we're building confidence. So let's just say, for example, you're a nurse in the ER, right? You're burnt out and you love your job, but you kind of want something a little bit different, right? You want to experience, you might be, say, a Reiki practitioner, but you don't have an opportunity in the ER that's so fast paced to be able to express that, right? So the discomfort phase is really, I wish I could do Reiki more. I love Reiki. I want to do it more. Right? The clarity is, I love Reiki. I want to do it more. And the action phase could really be telling your friends and families that you're wanting to see them as new clients, right? You want to do Reiki on them, right? And oftentimes when we think about confidence and clarity, right? Uh, confidence and clarity actually occur after action, after we've taken that step. We don't know what we're good at or if something is actually enjoyable until we do it, right? And when we do it, that actually will create another step for us. It will give us more clarity on what that next thing is. And the more action you take, the more clarity and confidence you will build, especially as a holistic nurse. And it's also the case that the more clients you see, the more clarity and confidence you will have as a holistic nurse. When you're first starting out, you're just kind of riding the courage wave. But then as you see more and more clients, and really the sweet spot is about 50 to 100 clients when you can really say, okay, this is my ideal client. This is the type of person that makes my heart sing when I see them, and that their problems and the solutions I offer, that is my unique gift. Okay. And as you're chomping on these stages of change, do you recognize, can you see where you might be? And really, you could be in multiple stages. You could be in, say, the action phase, and you've already taken action, but then you move back into, say, the preparation phase. Ooh, that didn't work out. Okay, now I'm going to prepare again. I'm going to figure out, maybe that didn't work for a client. I'm going to figure out what I need to do next. All right. So we're going to do another exercise. And this exercise is a different form of exercise in the sense of we often make goals from the perspective of where I'm at right now and then projecting into the future. Right? The downside to doing that is that I'm going to be projecting into the future with my current knowledge, my current belief systems, which may be limited. And then I'm going to be taking action from that place. So my actions will be limited. My actions are going to reflect what I know I can do. Whereas we're going to do an exercise that kind of reverses that. We're going to do the exercise from B to A. So it's almost as if we had already achieved our goal, and we're going to be creating and envisioning our life and then creating action steps from that perspective. Okay. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to just get grounded, feel your feet on the floor, feel your back on the chair. Just kind of breathe into your body. So I'm going to invite you to tap into a feeling of joy. And allow that to feel, to be in your body, to feel into that. And allow that to spread. And then I'm going to invite you, in that feeling of joy, to adding a feeling of confidence. It might be helpful to call upon a memory or situation where you felt confident. And then I'm going to invite you to tap into that feeling of being in flow. And of those, I'm going to invite you to pick the one that feels the most strongest for you. Is it joy? Is it confidence? Is it that feeling of flow? And just notice too and reflect on when you might experience these feelings of joy, confidence, and flow. And then next, I'm going to invite you to envision your perfect day. And really, even imagining from, say, waking up in the morning, right? You're waking up and it's your perfect day. How are you feeling? And as you're moving through the day, right, what are you doing? Who are you interacting with? And if you can pick up on some of the sensory aspects of your perfect day, like what are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you touching, feeling? And moving about your perfect day, who are some of the people that you're interacting with and how are you helping them? And as you're interacting with them, how are you feeling? And it's so important to tap into that feeling state because oftentimes that's what we are wanting to experience as healers, right? Is just that sense of fulfillment, that sense of flow, that sense of confidence, that competency, and that sense of helping someone. And I invite you to then see if there were any things that were providing clarity in your visualization. Like, who is it that you were helping? What were you doing? And were there any action steps that were triggered by your visualization? Like something that you're excited about. Ooh, I should do this. Or, oh, that looks like it could be fun. I'd like to try that. And if there were any action steps that came through, I'd like for you to write that down in the same piece of paper with the 10 things that I had asked you before. So, this type of work where you're tapping into the emotions, doing visualizations, these are important steps in helping you to reflect upon the people that you want to serve and the kind of practice that you want to build. But it starts off with reflecting first, gaining clarity about yourself. I hope that this was helpful, and I'd like to invite you to stay connected, to check out our course offerings. We have many that offer holistic programs like acupressure, functional nutrition, yoga, and mindfulness. We're also going to be creating a Reiki and aromatherapy course coming soon. And all our programs have continuing education credits that are approved by the American Holistic Nursing Association. You can also stay connected just through email, through the Holistic Nurses of Arizona, or our Facebook page, Nurses for Natural Health. I hope that this was helpful for you, and I look forward